Hello. Welcome to another episode of Games Analysis and Producer Perspectives. My name is Ray Hazlip, once again hosting this show for you. It's been a lovely couple of weeks. Unless you're watching the news, then yeah, it's been pretty bad. Obviously, been not great. There are some bright spots though. Unless you're a Microsoft fan, and then in which case, yeah, it's just been bad all around for you, haven't it? I want to talk today about, specifically Microsoft video game fan. I think Microsoft, the company itself, is doing fine. This is a video game podcast after all. Let's actually talk about this. I've been hearing this term, the Netflix of video games, for, I want to say, at this stage, almost half of my life. And I'm getting sick and tired of hearing it. Netflix came out in, I want to say it gained like mass popularity in the late 2000s. I think I got a Netflix subscription back in about 2008. Yeah, I got a Netflix subscription back in 2008. And that was when it was $8 a month. And $8 got you unlimited streaming. And the unlimited streaming service, yeah, it didn't have every single movie or TV show you could ever want on it, but it had more than enough, and I was way more than entertained for $8 a month. I thought it was phenomenal. And it worked with an Xbox 360 as well. Why don't we take a moment to have one of our ad breaks? We'll be right back. So you know what I like? I like energy drinks. I take them every time right before I work out. And what I don't like about energy drinks is when you do take them, you do have a caffeine crash right after them. And so I'm always shopping around for different energy drinks that will give me a better caffeine high, as it were. Maybe a more natural high. So we got today's sponsor, Aspire Drinks. If you want to go to aspiredrinks.com, what they give you is healthy energy that delivers balanced, crash-free 80 milligrams of natural green tea caffeine. They are sugar-free, and they come in a variety of delicious flavors. They will keep you refreshed and focused all day long. Now, as a new sponsor of this show, they are giving an exclusive discount when you are at the checkout. Enter the promo code RHAZE, and it's like Ray Hayes. Yeah, RHAZE at aspire.com when you order some energy drinks. You could just buy a pack for yourself or just make a subscription if you've already had them before. Once again, these are gluten-free, keto-friendly, soy-free, vegan, and kosher natural energy drinks. The discount is going to give you, the listener, a 20% discount. That's a heck of a deal. Go ahead and put that into, once again, aspiredrinks.com. That's RHAZE. You're already going to probably go buy some energy drinks. Why not buy a bulk? Buy some in bulk. Tell them Ray Hazlip sent you. All right? There was also the mail-in DVD service. And yeah, from time to time, I did subscribe to that and take advantage of that as well, because they didn't have everything on the streaming service, but the DVD portion that you can have sent in the mail, that made up for it. I liked it. I enjoyed the heck out of it. Sometimes they even let you buy the DVDs if you decide to, like, you know what, I just want to keep this one. And I think I have a couple of those just sitting downstairs. Anyways, for so much of my life, I've been hearing the term the Netflix of video games, and there's been so many different services that are like, what if we just gave streaming, but it was just video games as opposed to a movie or TV show? Here's the thing about that. I'm going to make a very probably terse statement, and I hope it's not seen as controversial as at this stage in technology and gaming history. There is never going to be a Netflix of video games. I'm putting my foot down. I'm stamping it hard onto the ground. I am done hearing about it. As a matter of fact, if people can go out of the way and just never talk about the Netflix of video games, ever again, I will be just that much slightly happier because I've never believed in such a thing, ever. I've never thought that such a thing would actually be feasible. This is before I got my degree in gaming. This is before I started working in the game industry. This is before I started teaching how to make video games academically. Before all of that, before I was like so deep into this, into this hobby, into this career, to this industry, before I was so deep, someone told me like, yeah, what if video gaming could be like Netflix? It's like, no, there's so many reasons why that's not going to work. First things first, Netflix does not, and still to this day, does not have access to all of the content. And there's always an argument, contractual arguments about what content they can access. Not that long ago, in 2017, I watched the entirety of Star Trek Deep Space Nine on Netflix. And then I do believe it was in 2019. So 2017, it was Deep Space Nine. And in 2019, 2020, I watched all of Star Trek Voyager. All of that on Netflix. Now I can't do that anymore. If I want to watch Star Trek content, I have to pay monthly for Paramount Plus because Netflix doesn't have the licensing rights to play Star Trek, which is one of the main reasons I care to have a Netflix subscription. I just wanted to watch The Next Generation. I wanted to watch the original series, TOS. I want to watch Deep Space Nine. I want to watch Voyager. I've watched a little bit of Enterprise, and I have nothing positive to say about Enterprise. But I did watch it. I did watch a little bit of it. But there are issues with that. What about when the quality dips? What about when it hitches? What about when the internet connection dips? Normally when that happens, when you're watching Netflix, like watching a show, if the quality takes a hit, you can kind of squint and punch through it. You know, it'll be fine. All right, your 1080p connection or 720p dip down to 480 or dip down to 360 for a couple of seconds. You know what? It's fine. It's okay. If it starts hitching and it skips or it starts buffering and pausing, you're like, you know what? That sucks, but it happens. Probably a lot of people are on Netflix right now, so that's taking up some of the stream energy or the stream data rate, the bit rate. So I'm going to like either go to the restroom, or I will make myself a snack, or I will look at my phone. I'll do something else. It'll be fine. Imagine trying to translate those inconsistencies into a video game, which is moving at not 24, not 12 frames a second, 60. 30 on the low end, but typically 60 or higher. And if it's a competitive game where you're trying to stream it for online and you're playing against other players, having hitching like that, or buffering, or drops in quality, that's tolerated up to a point, but that's basically not allowed if you're playing a competitive game. It makes the game untenable. So anyways, let's talk about some services that have come and went every single time I've heard the phrase the Netflix of games. Let's talk about OnLive, a service that came around in 2009. Probably a lot of you listening to this probably forgot about OnLive. Some of you listening to this, it's 2025, you probably were a child when OnLive was around. OnLive was the first big major third-party private company streaming service. It came out in 2009, or it was in beta in 2009, and launched in 2010, and it was $15 a month. And then it died a miserable death because it had buffering issues. And nobody, even in the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era, and also the Nintendo Wii, let's not forget about that juggernaut, no one could look at that and say, yeah, this is worth $15 a month, because it wasn't. The question was like, hey, is this going to play well? Well, kind of. Well, how many games are going to come with it? Some. The answer was always some. It was never like the latest video games. It was always like games that are several years old were coming to OnLive. And they were charging $15 a month to have subpar service. Why would I ever pay $15 a month, by the way, in 2010? Decent chunk of change. Not to say it's not a decent chunk of change right now, but it was still conversation money. It was literally, you would have the conversation of, this is almost double the price of Netflix, what are you giving me? And the answer was, not enough. That's why the company failed after 2.5 years. It eventually, failed. It got sold out to Sony. Sony wanted the actual streaming technology because they felt there was something there, and they wanted to improve upon it. I think they turned it into something called Gaikai, or the Gaikai streaming service, whatever. Not the point. Point is, didn't work. Came and went. Many people forgot it existed. All right, let's talk about a different one. How about GeForce Now, which is still going? That went into beta in 2015. It even had a small little console that came with it, a little handheld console. It was very cute, NVIDIA Shield. And then it went into full launch in 2020. Now, this service was kind of limited by its cost and how long you played. So the longer you wanted to play it, the more you paid for it. There is a free version of it. The free version, you could play it right now. It uses virtual PCs, and you log in, and you have to wait for one of the virtual computers to free up. And when it does, you select from their list of games, and you are off to the races. So long as one of the virtual computers are freed up. Oh, and by the way, for the free version, you have a daily limit of 1 hour. 1 hour. So that works for a lot of people. I'm not gonna lie. If you did an average for how much video games I personally play each month, probably 1 hour a day is generous and probably what I would average to anymore. So this might work for a lot of people, especially people particularly like me. You're busy, you're older, got a family, you got stuff to do. Maybe 1 hour is perfectly fine. What if you had a free day and you're like, hey, I wanted to do a lot of gaming today? Well, that 1 hour cap is not gonna do it for you. Maybe you need a couple of hours. Well, you could pay the largest amount if you're a heavy gamer. Just make sure one of the virtual PCs are freed up. The largest amount is 100 hours a month for $200 a year. Whew. Boy, that's $17 a month. That we're getting back to online prices. To some people, $17 a month for 100 hours a month of game streaming. Tell you what, if you're a very heavy video gamer, 100 hours a month probably isn't a lot for you. Just doing the quick math right here. That's 3 hours a day for 30 days. I'm gonna be honest, at the very height of me playing video games, if I was a younger person and had that much free time, 3 hours a day is nothing. You could blow through. That's every single evening you're hanging out with the boys or something like that, or the girls or whatever. That's an evening of gaming from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., something like that. And then it's like, oh, you're cut off, you're done. Or you just play as much as you can that night. Say you have a heavy gaming night. You play for like 5 hours or something like that. 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Something like that. You're having a good time. You're just enjoying yourselves. You're playing a lot of, I don't know, Battlefield 4, whatever the hell game is out at that point. And then at the end of the month, you're like, uh-oh, I only have like a couple hours left, but I still got to make that payment. So I'm not going to say it doesn't work for people. It's still around as a service. There are obviously people getting some usage of it. As a matter of fact, as of 2023, something like 25 million people are using OnLive. Okay. That's a report from NVIDIA. They're saying, hey, we have 25 million users. I know marketing speak. I know what that means. 25 million users doesn't mean what you think it means. It means 25 million people have at least created the free version of the account and gave it a shot. That's not active users. There's a big difference between 25 million users and 25 million active users. How many monthly users do you have, NVIDIA? Do you want to give that number up? How many monthly what's your MAU? What's your monthly active user rate? Is it anywhere near that 25 million number? Is it even 10% of that? I'm willing to bet it's not even 10% of 25 million. I'm willing to go out on a limb and say it's closer to maybe, if I was a betting person, I would say their MAU is closer to 25,000 people. I'm saying it's a percent of a percent of their users that they claim have the service. Because it doesn't mean anything for someone to create an account, try it for 1 hour, see if it works for them, and then put it down and then never touch it again. That means nothing. You're like, yeah, sure, you still have an account, but you did the free version and then never touched it again. Woohoo. And you're for dang sure not paying for it. So all you did was take up some of their data center. Maybe they sold some of your information to make some of that money back. I don't know. All right, let's talk about another service. You know, I don't want to pick on GeForce Now too much. There are probably a decent amount of people that like it. I'm speaking anecdotally. No one I know in my life, personally and professionally, uses GeForce Now. Not a single person. So I'm sure that there are people out there that use it. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they live. I don't know what they do in their free time. They exist. Probably. Maybe. Perhaps. How about Google Stadia? Oh boy. Google Stadia was my favorite whipping boy for video games. Because I always thought Google Stadia was just a bad idea. There was nothing you could say to me to convince me that was a great idea. So Google Stadia was, keyword was, a service that spun up, launched in 2019. They had a very odd and weird marketing campaign. They're like, we're giving you streaming gaming. And it's like, that's been done before. No one liked it. Are you gonna do it better? You're Google. You have more money than some places have, some nations have. You have more money in the bank than some countries' GDP. All right, what are you gonna do with it? What they did is they charged you a monthly fee, and you played their game. You played their games for streaming. I think it was $9.99, and they actually wanted to be like, they wanted to take the method of the Netflix of gaming and put it to its logical conclusion. And what I mean by that is, you pay monthly for these games, and then you never own them, ever. You can look at them. If you buy them, then you bought that game and it exists on your account, because they did charge full price for these games. I need to make that very clear. If you wanted to buy, say, Cyberpunk 2077, which they had a huge campaign for, they're like, hey, Cyberpunk 2077 doesn't work on the PlayStation 4, but it does work on Google Stadia because we're streaming it. And supposedly that campaign worked for them. So say you paid $60 for Cyberpunk 2077 in 2019, 2020 for Google Stadia. You didn't own that game. Not really. You owned the right to play that game. What happens when Google Stadia shuts down? The game's gone. You paid $60 for the ability to say, I can play this game, but you don't have the disc. You can't give it to anybody. You can't even exchange it to GameStop to get a pittance of what they would offer. You can't sell it on eBay. You can't keep it as a collector's item. It's gone. It's part of the reason why I said, like, that's never going to work. You never owned any of the games. And that right there to me is like, okay, so it's dead. Because you can't convince human beings right now at this stage. Prices have been going up for a while. You can't convince human beings that, hey, how would you feel about not owning video games? Some people would probably look at you and say, hey, that sounds, I guess that's okay. What benefits do I get? Well, you get the benefit of playing your games through Google, and you can play the games everywhere. You can stream them on your smartphone. You can stream them on any sort of device that is Google Stadia ready. And that sounds great until it doesn't. Google didn't even believe in this idea fully. Let's have one more ad break. Then we'll be back. Do you like drinking coffee? Of course you do. You're listening to this podcast. That's pretty much most people listening to this love drinking coffee. What you want to drink, though, is locally sourced and sustainable coffee. How about some coffee where every time you make a purchase of it, 5% of all of its sales go back to charities to go ahead preserve the great outdoors? How about a coffee that only works with local farmers? Coffee that gives you a great taste. So thanks to today's sponsor, that is going to be Afuera Coffee. You can go to afueracoffee.com and you can order some specially sourced, single sourced actually, sourced from the Rainforest Alliance Farms in Central and South America, coffee beans, ground or whole beans, and get that delivered straight to your house. You want to use my promo code RHAZE, that's RHAZE, at afueracoffee.com. Order yourself some coffee, and they're going to give you 15% off just for using that promo code. Go ahead, get yourself some coffee, and enjoy it knowing that you're giving a little bit back to the environment. Google started off spinning up their own studios just to make games for Stadia, and then shut them all down in 2022. Remember, the product launched in 2019, so they gave about 3 good years for studios to make games, and then they didn't launch a single one. Not a single one. No studio made it. It takes a long time to make a video game, depending on the game that you're making. Sometimes it takes 2 years to make a game. Sometimes it takes 5. I don't know how long Grand Theft Auto 6 has been in development, but that's been a while. So giving them 3 years and then pulling the plug, that tells you what you need to know. Google saw the writing on the wall and said, like, yeah, this product is not going to make it. There was a lot of other issues with Google Stadia that we don't have to get into now. There's a whole book's worth of issues with Google Stadia. I won't say the name of this person, but I remember reading some Facebook comments about Google Stadia, and the most insane comment I think I've ever read about it before is that Google Stadia is for poor kids. And that was just an off-the-wall thing to say out loud, period. Here's the thing about poorer families, and someone that grew up very poor myself. Well, let me tell you why my family would have never gotten Stadia. One, Google Stadia required a pretty decently fast high-speed internet connection. Most poor people can't afford very decently fast high-speed internet connections. They afford the high-speed connection that they can get. They're getting the $15 package, the one that lets you check emails and check social media. Maybe you can go ahead and have one of the TVs stream Netflix or something like that. They're not out there dropping $70, $60 a month to have the, we'll say, gig to the door service that Google Stadia would be requiring. The service stuttered all the time, even on extremely high-speed internet connections. I'll never forget this video of someone playing Destiny 2, and there was a 30-frame-second delay, and one of the videos was a 2-second delay. He hit the jump button, 2 seconds later, the character on screen jumped. That's not. You can't play a game like that. I'm sorry, you can't. Maybe you could play a single-player game like that, and that's why they advertise Cyberpunk 2077 so much. But when there's that much latency and lag when you're trying to play a game, that's not really playing the game. You're kind of playing a puzzle game at that point. Maybe puzzle games worked really well for the service, like turn-based RPGs or something like that. So I said something to my friends, and I said this to Josh and Mike like years ago. I said when it came to Google Stadia, if Google can't figure out this whole Netflix of games type of thing, if they can't figure out getting game streaming to the masses, nobody can. If Google can't figure it out and make it both sustainable and profitable, nobody is going to be able to figure it out, because they are the largest company to do this. They have the infrastructure to do it, and they just didn't want to commit to the bit hard enough to make it happen, or they didn't see it as viable long term. Anyways, let's talk about Microsoft. Xbox Game Pass, which launched in 2017, and in 2019, they launched a PC version. I've actually used Game Pass before, but I only used the $9.99 PC version 1 month at a time. Because the $9.99 PC version, you don't have to stay subscribed to it. What they do is they just let you play the whole game. They let you stream and play the whole game. They actually let you download the game onto your local PC, and then it does a quick check to see, are you paying $9.99? Are you paying us money? And then it lets you continue playing the game. So it works. It's nice. It's nice when it works, but I explained to Josh, who was on the other podcast, Unscripted Gaming, which you should listen to. I said that, hey, this isn't going to be sustainable because I just paid $9.99, and instead of paying $60 for the Outer Worlds, I paid $9.99, beat it in 2 weeks, and yeah, that studio just is out $50. The entire industry is out that $50. I'm not the only one doing this, by the way. I know I'm not. I think Josh said it's fine. That most people just stay subscribed to it. Maybe. I don't think so, though. So initially in 2021, Microsoft announced that Game Pass needed to have 100 million subscribers on it to be sustainable. And they needed to have 100 million subscribers by 2030. Right now, as of 2025, Game Pass has 37 million subscribers for a variety of reasons. One, the Xbox brand name has kind of been on the back foot since 2013. The Xbox One really did just kind of wreck the image of this company, and it hasn't recovered ever since. And I wonder what those numbers are. I know it was 37 million, but that number I'm reading to you is from a month ago. Ever since Microsoft hiked up the price of Xbox Game Pass, they hiked up the price last week. So many people canceled Xbox Game Pass that the server and the website to cancel the service crashed. How many of that 37 million is left? Did 7 million leave? Did 1 million leave? Was it only 500,000? 500,000 people leaving in one day. That's not great. That's not a good number. But even if it was 500,000, that's still 500,000 people in one day leaving your service because you raised the price by 50%. So some people are thinking, well, they're probably raising the price because they want to offer more goods and services. And it's well, here's my speculation. They're raising the price because it's not sustainable. It's not financially sustainable. I know that they announced hey, last year, Game Pass has made $5 billion in revenue. That's great. That's awesome. That's a lot of money. How much of that money was profit? There's a difference between revenue and profit. How much of that was profit? You can make a ton of money in revenue, but what's your overhead? Because I know Microsoft has to eventually pay for the studios that want to put their games on Game Pass first. Because a lot of studio contracts say, hey, we're going to lose money on Game Pass. We just are, so we need a lot of that money up front. And typically, Microsoft is all too willing to make those deals. That's fine. How much of that is profit at the end of the day? Here's a rumor that happened just a week ago. So Microsoft buys Activision Blizzard, which I'm sure that they only recognize as the Call of Duty company. There's a rumor that leaked out from an employee who wanted to remain anonymous that Microsoft lost $300 million on, I do believe it was Call of Duty Black Ops 6, because so many people this year, or last year, decided to buy Call of Duty on Game Pass as opposed to buying the disc or the digital download. As opposed to paying $60, $70, they did what I did. They paid the $9.99, or they paid the, $20? They played it for a couple months or a month and then stopped and decided that's enough, and then went back to doing something else. that losing $250 million on one game, how much money have they lost on other games? Literally unsustainable business practice. That's why they raised the price. They're trying to get as much money out of their customers as possible. They're trying to make it okay with us that Game Pass is now $30. It's not. It's not. So, what are we coming down to? What is it I'm trying to say at the end of all this? I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't believe there's going to be a Netflix of games. Any more than I believe that there's going to be a new Microsoft console in 2035. I don't think that's going to happen either. Like if I was to place a big bet 10 years from now, we're not going to have a big Microsoft plastic box or whatever. It's going to be under your TV sets or in your entertainment center. I don't think that's going to happen either. All right. I'm going to end it right there. If you want to go ahead and contact us, though, or listen to any other podcasts, why don't you go to unscriptedgaming.com, where you can find a bunch of other episodes. You can also follow our social media on bluesky.com. And I want to go ahead and give a special thanks to our new sponsors for today's episodes. I also want to go ahead and say, if you are interested in reading science fiction books, go to stanhazlip.com, and you can go ahead and find some of the books that I've written, or just type into Amazon or Google Ray Hazlip if you are interested in that. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have yourself a fine evening.